How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. Today we've got a catch-up meeting with Steve Goodgame, K5ATA from ARRL Education. If you remember, we did a fundraiser beginning of the year, and we're catching up with him to see how it all went down and what's been going on with not just the Teachers Institute, but ARRL Learning, or Education, I should say. And we will catch up with Steve shortly on that. So stay tuned. Get ready with your questions. He'll be taking them live. Thank you for coming out, guys. Enjoy the meme as we get things started. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday, the day before Father's Day. Fathers in the chat, what radios have you put on your wish list? What do you think you're getting tomorrow? Is it just going to be socks, or are you getting one of them brand new Yaesu Optimas? You post in the chat. I want to hear it. Guys, I want to mention this is an interview live discussion, so make sure you get your questions in the chat. Just type question or at Ham Radio Crash Course as we go along. And when we finish things with Steve, we're going to go start the after chat where we take your questions live on any amateur radio topic to help you get on the air, particularly all of our new ham radio friends, maybe people who just got their license. So appreciate you joining us over there. All right? Very good. Go check out hamtactical.com. It's the merch store for the Ham Radio Crash Course. Love it if you did that, particularly if you listen to the podcast. Most of the jokes and images like our movie club, the inside of the Baofeng, QRP is for heroes, the 1X crew, all of your favorite jokes are over at hamtactical.com. So go check that out. I would appreciate it. Now, I don't normally do this because I do have a beer occasionally on the show, but for a long time now, I think multiple years, the Golden Beaver Distillery has sent us booze, basically, to the podcast, and we've had fun drinking it on the podcast and sharing it with friends and family and whatnot. But I opened this today for a little bit of sipping sauce while we're having the talk here. Honey flavored whiskey from Golden Beaver Distillery. Really cool people. Really appreciate them throwing some stuff in a box and sending it over to us. But let's go ahead and say hi to Steve Goodgame. We got a couple of links here that we're going to go through. But let's first go ahead and say hello. Steve, how have you been, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I am good. I'm getting ready for that Father's Day. I know that I'm not old enough as a father to where I can just dominate the whole day. So I have my dad, my stepdad, my wife's dad. The whole day is dad's dad event. So I'm going to be busy, but I don't think I'll be playing radio. How about yourself?
So I'm just the only dad around. So boom, I win.
Yeah.
I got a new part to my toolbox. My other hobby is playing around in the garage and wrenching on my own vehicles and stuff. So I've got some organization to do with that. I've got the 56-inch Harbor Freight green, and I just got the side locker for it today. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
I went with
I'm an orange guy.
Yeah, me too.
And then I walked into the store and I was looking and I was like, God, that green is just sick.
It is good. Yeah, I don't think you could lose either way. It's a really good looking color.
But
yeah.
My jack and my jack stands are all orange. So, but that green is just, I don't know what it was. It was like, I don't know, just, that was it. I was like, you're my baby. So yeah. Here it is.
It's a huge coupon weekend. Father's Day, it's the yard sale, all that stuff for Harbor Freight. So if you tuned in for the Harbor Freight chat, it's definitely live right now. But go to Harbor Freight this weekend. Big coupons.
Yeah, I mean, their wrenches, their Icon wrenches are, not to be a commercial for you or anything, but 40% off of those Icon wrenches. So
it's crazy.
It's funny. My wife walks into the garage after I got the box out of the truck and put it up on it kind of hangs on the side of the box, the main box. Mm-hmm. She goes, "What are all these Icon boxes over here?" And I was like, "Oh, those are just wrenches."
My wife looked at those boxes and said, "Did somebody screw up Icon? Did somebody misspell icon? Where is it? What is an icon? I don't know what this is." But shout out to Arthur Heron, 37 months as a member of the Ham Radio Crash Course. Very much appreciate you, sir. Thanks for the support.
Awesome.
So, Steve, we had you on. I guess it was last year. It was over Thanksgiving break, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
believe it was just after Thanksgiving there, that the
Yeah.
Saturday after, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah, and it was we raised $20,000 on the fundraiser side on the show, but we had some incredibly generous donors over at the ARRL side of the house, and they matched it dollar for dollar. So $40,000
Yeah.
was put into basically your hands and the
Eh,
ARRL education hands. And so how did
Yep.
that work? How did it all go down? And update on what it might have gone to?
Sure. So it actually ended up being a little bit more. We had some stragglers that gave after the fact from the stream link. So it was about $41,000 total.
Excellent.
Um, that pays for a full week of TI.
That's excellent.
So, that it funded an entire week last year of Teachers Institute, which is awesome. Obviously, thank you to everybody who gave and everybody who worked behind the scenes. I know, a couple years ago, Mike kicked this off and it was awesome. And you picked it up last year. And I can't thank you guys enough. This isn't a fundraising stream, so I'm not trying to go there.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying thank you because, I can't do what I do without donors like you. So, you know,
Yeah, well, we appreciate what you're doing, have done, I should say, have done, and continue to have plans to grow it. And so that's one of the big reasons I continue to support what you're doing is just the efficacy and actually the accomplishments you've had so far. I should note, completely unrelated, the ARRL VHF UHF contest is going on right now. So if you're listening to us, maybe try and work some contacts as well. We know we got some folks over on San Clemente Island right now. Heather is over there right now, and a couple other folks. So good job, guys, being out there. That is a huge island to operate from. So what? Let's see. Going back to the fundraiser. So you got a week out of TI basically for the
yep.
support there. But so that means how many TIs do you do a year now, or will you on slate to do in 2025?
We're hoping for 15. We've got 13 scheduled right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in talks with a group gave a significant donation from the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
Com Academy was their group, and they gave us a chunk of money with the condition that we host one in the Seattle-ish area somewhere up there. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see if we can wrangle teachers together to do that. It's the on ramp for that was really short, so that may not happen until next year. It takes a significant amount of time and effort to find a venue and to find enough teachers to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we started taking TI on the road. So we had our first one back in January on Staten Island, New York.
Oh,
Everton, who was on the
yes,
fundraiser there for a while,
yes,
his
yes.
school hosted us. And it was great. We had 11, 12 teachers go through that. But more importantly, that got enough press in New York that I've now got 5 or 6 teachers who have applied to come to TI out of the New York City schools. And I've got other schools that are interested in possibly hosting us down there. So um, then we just finished one up 2 weeks ago, and well, I
Mm-hmm.
guess we finished it about a week and a half ago in Louisiana, in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Same thing. We had 12, 13 teachers there, and
That's
they're all
excellent.
from the local area. So the advantage of that obviously is I don't have to pay for travel for 15 teachers.
Yeah.
Instead, I just pay travel for my one instructor and then shipping for equipment there and back. And I mean, it's still expensive. I mean, I shipped 13, but I say um, Eliza in our office is the guru of managing
Logistics.
logistics.
Yeah, yeah.
And but she sent 13 boxes out full of equipment. And to get you an idea of how much stuff we actually give teachers, only 5 boxes are coming back. So the rest of
Wow.
those boxes are were all just equipment to give teachers, and it's the same basic loadout that you've seen in the past, the directional antennas, the Fox, the couple of radios,
Mm-hmm.
an electronics kit. It's a good loadout of stuff and a Zoom spot. So we can't forget those Zoom spots because those are,
Very handy. Yeah, makes it a
well,
lot easier in some cases for the teachers and the kids.
yeah, because we've created our own fusion reflector for just these classrooms. And so
Perfect.
now a kid on the East Coast can pick up a radio, and if they want to talk to another kid, they get on that reflector and they can talk to a kid, in California or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still doing it with the handheld radio.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going through the Zoom spot and then coming out in all these classrooms around the country. And that network is slowly building too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did, my behind the envelope math here. So if $40,000 gets you 1 week of TI, and you're planning on doing, what'd you say, 15?
I'd like
That's
to do 15 this year.
that's that's $600,000. That's not a small amount of funds. So how does the funding go, right? So outside of the fundraiser, which we did, obviously that's a small percentage of the whole that you're looking for year after year. How does that all work?
So let me go ahead and start out with, I know there are some people out there. In fact, you may have heard that are saying things like the TI is not donor funded, is coming from the general fund. And you probably know this person. I mean,
I do. Yes.
yeah. I'm not going to call names, but you do you. And but it's
I'll let you continue, and then I'll decide
yeah,
when I'm going to
it's
drop in with my thoughts.
so it's everything that happens as far as funding for TI, even the portion of our salaries at headquarters that, every week my department has an extra task of not just turning in timesheets, but we have to designate how many hours were spent on TI versus how many hours were spent doing regular education stuff. So,
Hmm.
and we prorate that money for that. So every single dime that goes towards TI is completely donor funded.
Hmm.
I work with a great director of development, Kevin, and Kevin does a fantastic job of kind of raising more of this money. Like you said, I mean, I said the number 40 to
Yeah.
$45,000, but we're actually increasing the number of seats in TI. So obviously that number is going to go up. We that's going to work its way up as well. So, but yeah, it is 100% donor funded. Um, in TI, it's the same person. Um, Also does things, like I can't say it any other way. This person is just blatantly being dishonest.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. In fact, I'll add some thoughts. Well, let me just go ahead and set the stage a little bit. So, N6AA, Dick Norton, is the
yes,
what's his title for California? Southwest
he is
Division
director. Yes.
Director. Yeah. So Visalia last year, I was in attendance, and he spent the whole talk railing against the ARRL. And then at Big Bear again, he went to the talk and railed against the ARRL. Everything that I've heard, from my point of view as an engineer, right? If you're going to put a slide on the wall, I want to see the actual numbers behind it. I want to see the evidence. I want to see all that stuff. And I told that to him. I told that to him to his face. Now he's coming after Teachers Institute, and he's had multiple comments. I don't think directly to your face, or you can correct me if I'm wrong. But can you can we go point by point, or can we walk through some of these misunderstandings that may exist there, so that we can just clear the decks, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously the first one is the funding thing. He makes statements like it comes from the general fund. If there's not enough money in the TI fund, then we pull it from reserves. I don't know where he's getting that. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he's actually on or has been on the administrative and finance subcommittee or committee. So
Mm.
he knows perfectly well the money comes from donors.
Yeah, so
Um,
selective amnesia or something is going
yeah,
on, because
you,
if he's active in his role, he should already know where the money's going, from my point of
yeah,
view. Yeah.
yeah, and I've explicitly explained it to him a few times. And he has told me to my face that basically trying to reach youth is a complete waste of time and money.
Wow.
Um, and it's like, I don't know if that's just he wants his own way of playing or he just doesn't see the long game.
After
And
everything I've heard from him, I don't think he wants anything. I think whatever anybody has decided to do is wrong, and he doesn't like it. But I've nary heard an idea, or a constructive thought to build something other than to just tear things down. It's always feels like a teardown thing. And to think that youth is not a good outreach is bonkers to me. But sorry, continue.
so and then I mean his vision of what we actually do in TI is 25 years old. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
he says things like, "Oh, the teachers get a free vacation." Um, I don't know about that. They're in class from like 8 to 5 for every day that they're there, and then most of these teachers are sitting in the hotel lobby working on lesson plans, or
Right.
going out in the parking lot working on working satellites. It's if you consider getting a dinner at the Red Robin up the street a vacation.
And splurging on the free continental breakfast at the Ramada, right?
Yeah, so obviously that's not the case. Like he says things like we're still driving toy robots around the hallways. Um, Not been a thing.
Well,
Um,
what does that mean? Driving toy robots? Like, what does he mean
so
there?
he says, oh well, they have fun, and they used to use it's called a Bobot, and it's a great tool for programming, but
Hmm.
it's not a part of our program anymore. That's more of a robotics area
Right.
thing, not necessarily what we're doing.
Hmm.
But we haven't done that for several years, and he's just that out of touch. He doesn't realize, even though I've told him, it's he doesn't go there. He doesn't believe it.
I, it frustrates me because I know these conversations have happened, but it also frustrates me because we're talking about a level within the ARRL that has voting power and sway of how things get done in certain cases, right? So
Correct.
is this actually a threat to ARRL education, Teachers Institute, the whole nine yards there?
The I guess I'll say the funny thing about it is Director Norton voted. We had a unanimous vote to add a third advocacy to us to inspire and educate young people.
Hmm.
Um, and it was a unanimous vote. So he voted for this.
Oh, okay.
And so to have him after this vote comes up, and it's unanimous, for him to say things like, it's a waste of time and money. I just don't get it. Um, and there are a lot of things that he has said that I don't agree with, but now he's, for lack of a better word, playing in my yard.
Okay.
Um,
Sure. Sure.
this is my advocacy.
Hmm.
I left the classroom after 21 years and came up here to do this. Um, a lot of people leave their legacies with money. This is going to be my legacy.
Hmm.
This is, we are growing to a point where in 2, maybe 3 years, I would like to hit 50 of these TIs a year.
That's amazing.
Um,
Yeah.
and you start doing math on how many kids that impacts. If each teacher teaches on average 80 kids, and I don't math on stream, so somebody's gonna have to do it for me. If I run through 15 teachers in a class and each one teaches 80 kids,
Hmm.
and that's not just for that one year, they teach 80 kids for every single year that they're still teaching. When I start running 30, 40, and 50 of these sessions, we're hitting a lot of kids.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid. I get that not all of them are going to
Of
take
course.
it and run.
Right. But they'll at least
Um,
know about amateur radio. And sometimes I think that giving them at least the knowledge that it exists is what brings people back in the future, in later years.
yeah. And then, these people, some of them will become ham, some of them won't, but most of them are going into some field where, like you said, having that knowledge of how radio works is important. You and I were joking a little bit before the stream about things like, biomedical engineering and stuff like that. And something that, pardon the pun, is near and dear to my heart in the near future is
Literally.
I may very well end up with a pacemaker. Since my coffee is now decaf.
Hmm.
But that's Bluetooth now. You can Bluetooth a pacemaker, and the
Oh,
doc
wow.
can yeah,
Yeah.
he can reset it by Bluetooth. I'll have a little monitor when I can like show kids. Of course, some people at the office think I'm a nut, but I'm like, that's gonna be awesome because I can, like, when I'm talking to kids, be like, look at this. This is radio and it's talking to my heart.
Hmm.
And those are the things that kids are roping into. I'll use Everton as an example. He's got a bunch of kids. He's now licensed 403 kids at that school.
How many? 403?
403 in the last
Wow.
2 years.
That guy's
Um,
such a superstar. It's totally the delivery. That guy, you can't, you couldn't teach a teacher to be the way Everton is. He is so special and unique in what he does. I'm so impressed by him. That's
so
amazing.
what? And I wave him around obviously because he's
Sure.
got,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he's not alone. And this is another one of the things that Director Norton says is, there's no follow up. None of these schools are having these programs. Um, we've got Drew, who's been on your
Yes.
show in Erie.
Hmm. Another
He came
fantastic
through
educator. Yeah.
yep, he came through TI. My first year there, he came through
Hmm.
and started building up for this ARRS contact. Um, I was actually talking to some prospective donors today at headquarters, and um, I was telling him, we've got an elementary school teacher in Jasper, Texas. If I know, her last name is Jasper. She's down here in Texas, but Brenda is doing this with elementary school kids. And the highlight of their day is, or the year, is when they get to talk to Santa Claus from school on the radio.
Hmm.
And that's what sets the hook with them. Well, wait a minute, if I can talk all the way to the North Pole, then what else can I do with this? So, we've got pockets of schools all over the place. And it's
Hmm.
ironically, there's a teacher in Southern California who is doing great things down in San Diego. And, Director Norton is, I guess, unaware of it.
Yeah. I should pull in the comment because we mentioned director of the Southwestern Division, largely in California, right?
Yeah.
But we're
He's
talking,
got Arizona as well. So he's got Southern
yeah.
California and Arizona
So I think we need to explain that the director is a voted position from the ARRL sections. It's voted by the people in that section
by their
and
divisions. Yeah.
of the division. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, not section, division. And then they go to headquarters occasionally or whenever they're meeting, and they vote on things. This is where the board meetings occur. Is that about right? Is that the correct
Yep.
summation?
That correct. So like, for example, Director Norton, I believe, is up for re-election this year.
He
Um,
is. We'll talk about that a little bit later in
but
the show.
that's one of the things that they do. And this impacts, well, their vote impacts everything we do.
Sure.
I'm fortunate that most of the board, I can think of maybe one who regularly doesn't agree with reaching out to youth.
Hmm.
So I'm at this point, no, my program's okay.
Good.
I've got board support. I've got, a bunch of board members that believe in what we're doing. They see the vision. In fact, most of these board members have donated either through the telethon,
Hmm.
or a lot of them just donate regularly to our education fund and our and Diamond Club.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, these positions, you know, people always say if you want change, get out and vote. Well, the same thing happens. You have to have somebody to vote for. So
Oh well,
somebody has to run.
I'll
Um,
just do it then. I'll just do it now. We'll pull the Band-Aid off. There is another ham, AA7A in California, who is running for this position within the ARRL this year. So when vote time comes and you get your ballot, I'm voting for AA7A. And that the name I can't remember the name. What's his name
it's
again?
Ned Stearns.
Ned Stern. That's right.
Ned
Ned.
with the
Yeah.
November. Yeah.
So that's who I'm voting for, AA7A. So if you're in California or the Southwest District, then, help a guy out. He's going to need the support. We'll talk about that in the future. But I will say, let me go back for a second. What a fantastic antenna setup he has. I think he's working some EME with that thing. But you can tell the guy's a serious ham. So he's very much into it. And yeah, I'd like to see his taking over that position. But okay. Yeah, maybe that's anything else we need to say there. Is there any big comments that were made by Dick that we really need to get in front of here so people understand? Because again, everybody watching, Dick is going to things like Quartz Fest, and he's going to these ham clubs or ham fests, and there's an ARRL section, and people attended. It's usually a very busy talk, and he's kind of just allowed to go up there and say whatever he wants, and he puts up a bunch of slides behind him making a bunch of accusations. But then when challenged, like, show me the numbers, give me the actual numbers. Again, I did this at the Hope Hotel last year. Not a lot there, and a no, just a slide with a couple of numbers on it is not what I'm talking about. I want to see the actual backup of all of this. So yeah, the impact is real. So I want to make sure we're giving Steve the time, particularly since all of you watching, you took the time to help support the Teachers Institute. You've heard and seen the great work they do. I wanted Steve to be able to get in front of any of this stuff. So is there anything else that we need to get right in front of, Steve, that's been a mischaracterization? Or anybody in the chat, if you've watched some of those videos and you want to hear Steve reply to it, I'd love to hear that. But sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No, I actually try hard not to get into the social media part of things. Mostly because I just don't have the time. It's Saturday and I was at work, so there's not a lot of time for it.
Sure.
But stuff like that, when somebody says, he's out there saying things like your program's a complete waste, and then I can show teacher after teacher after teacher who have come through.
Mm-hmm.
We had our first TI last week in the building for the year, And then, we've got we have two new courses. We've got where we're teaching balloons and balloon tracking.
Hmm.
And then we've got space communications and radio astronomy. That's the one that we're partnered up with MIT at Haystack. And so, we get to go tour their facility, and we get a kind of day mini lesson on radio astronomy. And I don't know who else you can find that's a better place to go get that.
Hmm.
Um, but people are noticing other universities. I mean, Johns Hopkins University,
Oh,
we're hosting.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, they're hosting us for a session there.
Oh, great.
They don't, at their applied physics lab, they don't just pick up random anything. I mean, we're getting wheels, and for somebody just to bold face just mischaracterize everything that's happening is just, I guess, disgusting is a good word. So
We got a number of people in the chat that are all saying the good things that you've done and the firsthand experience. Yeah, so Uber Geek, yeah, feel free to drop a comment and I'll pin it up here. But yeah, we do appreciate the kind words. And yeah, again, ask questions as we go through this. But so where do we go from here, Steve? I think that was one of the big things we wanted to talk about. But what do we want to talk about next?
so we've got some other cool stuff coming down. Um, for example, we'll segue. It's a nice segue point.
Yeah.
We just got a new space for TI, and so
Oh yes,
um,
I have.
I'm assuming some of the people in here. So this is the old space.
Mhm.
This is the conference room. I mean, if you look really carefully to the right, like right in front of that door, those walls had carpet, like they
Oh,
were carpeted walls. It was like a
oh
weird
boy,
thing. And this is where
old
TI had been.
aerospace vibes.
Yeah, it had been held here for ever, I guess.
Okay.
You were lucky to fit 10 to 12 people in there. I did cram 20 of them in there once.
Oh
I'm
wow,
sorry. I'm sorry, Wayne.
that's a
But
lot. Yeah.
yeah, we had, I mean, I brought in side tables, and I mean, there were people everywhere, but we were growing, and I have a hard time saying no to, quality teachers that want to do this. So now we just finished and had our first session in our new space, and you can roll to that new space.
Wow.
So this is the new space, and I kind of sort of like to say that I own it, but it's really not mine. I mean, it's obviously it's like a multi-purpose training room at headquarters. So we can reestablish, all the tables are we can move them around. They're all on wheels,
Mhm.
and so we can format it around, if you want typical conference room style. But for the summer, this baby is mine, and this is where we're hosting TI. That's an 86-inch. It's not an interactive whiteboard at the front, and then
Oh,
we've got
great.
the two side TVs, so that when Wayne or whoever's teaching is doing some soldering work and we need to zoom in up close,
Mhm.
we've got a document camera that zooms down on like a dollar bill enough that you can see where the ink did not write on the numbers and stuff like that, so
Okay,
that they can watch, and they can still see it on those side TVs.
that's
Um,
excellent. Cool.
it's sound deadened for the most part.
Mhm.
We just had our first one, like I said, last week. Becky Schoenfeld's department, publication or production, where QST is done,
Mhm.
is right, and it's that wall on the right, and they couldn't
Oh,
hear a peep out of us.
oh, it's fantastic.
So that's a good thing. So um, that's one of the new things that we've got. This is also how I mentioned earlier that we're going to increase the capacity on TI. I can now seat 24 people.
Mhm. Excellent.
So now that may mean that I have to have a second instructor or a backup instructor for those,
Sure.
but that's fine. To me, that's worth the expenditure to get. I mean, if I split it into two groups of 12, I'm still paying for two instructors. So,
Right.
it's the
Yeah, yeah,
same
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the new things that we've got. Um, we are actually, in fact, I just started testing it this last week. There's a new STEM curriculum coming out.
Mhm.
This is completely not donor for, sorry. This is completely standards based, where we have taken both the Common Core state standards and the next generation science standards,
Okay.
and we have correlated everything that's in this curriculum to standards. Um, this is one of the things that, if you want a teacher to be able to do this in school, their lesson plans have to address specific standards. And so what we've done is we've, spent a fair bit of time, myself and a few other people, on committee meetings last year,
Mhm.
coming up with exactly what we wanted taught in here. Now, this is not a ham radio curriculum. It's a STEM curriculum. It's a STEM curriculum that uses what I always say is we use ham radio as a learning platform.
Okay.
So, but it's everything from like introduction to electronics to advanced electronics and circuit design. We've got ballooning in there. We've got some programming in there using Arduino and some of the remote sensor things that you can do. So while the end goal is not like there's not they don't take the technician test at the end of this course,
Okay.
but it's they've been exposed to it enough that several of them will get interested enough to do it. Obviously, somebody at the school is going to have to be licensed for some of these things
Sure.
because you can't have a fox hunt without stuff
Of
like that.
course.
So, but a lot of these are going to be this is where your local club can help out if the teacher's not licensed yet.
Hmm.
I get that question a lot. Well, how can I help? The days of the average Joe Ham walking into a school office and saying, "I want to, sit in this little bitty closet room with some kids and play radio," those are gone.
It's not happening. It's not
But
happening,
but
guys.
but what we can do is when the teacher has special projects like a fox hunt,
Hmm.
they can reach out and then they can bring in volunteers. Yeah, they're still going to have to get the background checks
That's
and
right.
stuff most places,
Yeah.
but that's not a big deal. That's generally a quick thing. And then they can come in and they can be the call sign, so to speak, and the control operator for some of these other events until a teacher gets licensed.
Yeah.
This is it's the perfect marriage, I guess, as perfect as it's going to get, marriage between schools and clubs.
We got a
um
couple of questions just in the process of this talk. Is it okay if I jump in a little bit and add
Absolutely,
some
yeah,
stuff here?
interrupt me whenever because
No,
I get to
excellent.
sip my bad coffee.
Okay, so uh, ACF4FD Randy, I don't know why my pop-up's not working, but he says, is there any way to get the curriculum without going to TI? I know that's a big question that's come up before when it comes to your new curriculum that's coming out.
Yeah, so the new curriculum is going to be entirely free. It will be on the Learning Center, but it will be in front of a paywall. Um, so you don't have to have come to TI to get it. You don't even have to be a member, although it would definitely help. It helps support it because that obviously the Learning Center and stuff does come out of general funds.
Hmm.
Um, it's actually going to be completely, and this is the part I've been testing. It's completely importable into any school's learning management system.
Hmm.
They're called SCORM files. So they
Oh,
can basically take the whole lesson and install this SCORM file on their LMS. And now all of a sudden the teacher can run that from their stuff. They can run their kids through it.
what's the duration of the curriculum? Like how long? Well, how much content
So
is there? I don't know what are their teacher words they use for how big is
yeah,
this thing?
so there are 8 units of 10 lessons each.
Okay.
So and then some of those are pretty quick at the beginning of each one. They're what are some of these electrical components? Those are pretty quick. But then as they get deeper into each unit, it becomes very project based,
Hmm.
where they're doing things like, let's build something using your Arduino and programming it to do what you want it to do, stuff like that. So it's designed to be a grade 6 through 8 curriculum. But like I was telling people today, you can actually slide that up or down a little bit. Um, People who are in education know that you have to have supports for some kids that are struggling on grade level. So you have supports for them if they're a little lower.
Hmm.
So that's those. While those may be below grade level for, let's say, 7th grade,
Yeah.
they might be right on grade level for 5th grade. So that can kind of slide down, and you can also slide up the same way. You can. So I say 6 through 8, but really you could get away with it 4th through. High school gets a little wonky because it becomes very subject oriented.
Yeah.
But
There's a number of technical schools, or I'm thinking of my wife is active at a local Chinese school, and it's a cultural school, but they also do like a robot team, and they have engineering classes that they run. They're like one-off things. You could even do this. This would be something that could be
yeah,
a part of their STEM program that they have. So this could be
yeah,
adapted to, I guess, after-school programs, tutoring programs. Homeschoolers could use this as well, I assume.
yep. In fact, Wayne, who I think is in the chat here, Wayne just got back from a huge homeschool conference, and that's another group we're actively trying to engage. People who are teaching in a homeschool co-op, they're teaching a group of kids. This is exactly the kind of tool that they need
Perfect. Yes.
because one we're free. Yeah, you do have to source some parts. Obviously, you can't identify and build something with Arduinos and stuff if you don't have those. But we give the list of what those are, and my vision is I'll actually also put those together into like pre-boxed stem in a box things.
Oh, that's
So
cool. Yeah.
so if they want to just one-stop shop it, we can boom, sit and we'll ship it out of our warehouse kind of thing.
That gives me an interesting idea. These STEM in a box things. Have you ever thought of like having an educational kit that could go to just non-teachers, like just maybe a parent who wanted to buy something for their child?
Yeah, so we've actually been for quite some time been talking to are you familiar with hacker boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy, great program. And we've been talking on and off for a while now about ways to have him work with us to create these kits. He does a fantastic job creating a monthly kit.
Mm-hmm.
If you've not seen him, this is a commercial because he does great stuff. Um, but having him try to come up with some just for that purpose, where I don't know if it would be a monthly subscription model or if we just have several kits that I don't know. It's still a little early in the process for that, but that's another thing that I would like to have just
Yeah.
something where they can go and say, hey, this is a way to do, ham radio and electronics in a kit with instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a, ooh, and his name just left me, but there's a fella that makes YouTube videos that are basically a kit build video. And then, he's expressed that he's willing to work with me to create those videos for our stuff too. So
Right. So we got a couple of questions. Oh, I I did something that caused a whole purple screen to pop up here. So hold on one second. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. Let's see. Question for Steve. How do you get the school to understand the program? And since schools are limited in daily learning, how do you get the district school boards open to this program? And then Silicon Valley question mark. I don't implying that maybe why can't we get you in Silicon Valley?
you absolutely can, and we'll go there in a second.
Sure.
Um, so getting school leaders and teachers interested. Teachers are automatically interested. My biggest problem is getting the talk time with them to explain what it is.
Hmm.
As soon as I talk to every single teacher I talk to, every single one of them is like, "Holy cow! How have I not known this is here?"
Right.
Um, but you're not wrong in that you have to convince superintendents and principals, which is part of why this curriculum is so standards based. There have been a lot of programs where they tried to do ham radio stuff. For example, back in 2000 or something, they came up with the big project at ARRL, but it wasn't standards based really. So there were great lessons in there, but
Hmm.
it never really got traction because schools require standards. So the fact that it's standards based beats we're already one up on a lot of things.
Hmm.
And then the other is just getting that time to talk to them. I am on the road a ridiculous amount of time now. Um, in fact, I realized looking at my calendar the other day, I am gone more of the summer than I'm home this year. So
Wow.
I'm going to teacher conferences. I'm going to school lead. In fact, end of this month, it is June, right? Yeah, end of this month. Oh, ooh, that's like a week and a half. I'm going to San Antonio, and there's going to be 35, 40,000 teachers and school leaders at this conference. This is where we're going to have that time to get with them and explain it to them.
Sure.
Um, I'm going to another one in Seattle. I mentioned earlier that they asked us to host one in the Pacific Northwest.
Hmm.
Well, one of the first things I have to do is build a network of people there. So I found a conference that's school leaders that seem to be regionalized to that area, and so I'm going to that conference to get in front of them, explaining that to them, explaining to them that these kids get real hands-on activities to do that they can actually take with them and do something at home with. The scholarship opportunities are crazy. We gave away, it's got to be close to $1 million this year in
Wow.
scholarship money. So, and those are the things that people don't know. I mean, I haven't had time to research it, but we were talking today
Hmm.
at the office that we're pretty sure we're in the top 10% of scholarship givers in the country.
Yeah, my wife tracks that stuff, and she said exactly that same thing. She's like having your child get an amateur radio license just for the grants and scholarships alone is a totally worthy for any child. That's
Yeah,
college age. You really parents, you really need to think about this. It's a huge opportunity.
it is. And it's also like, for example, director Wilson, Ed Wilson, who's been on your show as well.
Hmm.
Um, he and I made the trip and he was already down there. Then he drove me over to Staten Island.
That's
We
cool.
had the pleasure of giving one of the scholarships to one of Everton's kids for $20,000.
Hmm.
So, there's, I don't know, 400 or 500 kids in this awards ceremony. And Shiffy didn't know we were there. We were hiding behind the curtain kind of thing. And when we came out and said the amount and what it was for, I mean, that place erupted.
I bet. That's
And,
so cool.
when you look at the fact that there's 400 kids in that school that are licensed and they just saw one of their seniors who's been really active doing stuff, he's like
And
integrated ham
cool
radio.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
he was
Like,
the one that did like he figured out the tones for the radios, right? Wasn't that
yeah.
him? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
He
he
was
and Max.
yeah,
Yeah.
those two are like they're going places.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear more about them. Hopefully, Young Ham of the Year in the future. But yeah, very
Yeah, that
cool.
would be awesome. But
Yeah,
to have these other kids see, oh my goodness, this is real money. All we've done is just encourage these other kids to step it up now too, because
that's
there's
right.
no doubt you can apply for a scholarship if you're licensed, but if you really want one of the big ones, and like I said, our donors to that program and ARDC is huge.
Oh,
ARDC
absolutely.
gives us a
Yeah.
huge
A-
amount of money for that.
and they deserve full credit here. They are a huge component of this. ARDC
Yes.
is a massive supporter of a lot of what's going on here too, as well, particularly for the grants and scholarships. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, to watch his face and then that room,
I
you
bet.
know,
Yeah.
I vowed I'm not going to tear up on this tonight, but so we need to move on.
Okay, I
So,
do. I do want to go back though to. Do you have to talk to superintendents and districts, and what does that look like? What do you go through? Like, what are the questions that are asked? What are you having to answer? Because I'm totally foreign to all of this. This is all new grounds for me. Like, what does this look like, Steve? I think most of the people listening, they don't even know how you get a teacher. Maybe a school's like, I don't know, what is this? Is this a scam? Like, what do you have to do, particularly at the district level? I'm curious.
so uh, pretty much no matter who it is in a school system, their bottom line is, how is this going to help my kid?
Good.
You know,
Sure.
that's what it is. I mean, you get the outlier every now and then, but 99.9% of people in the school system, they want something that is going to help their kid.
Hmm.
Now, you have an added element with, superintendents. What is going to, make my district stand out from the others? And that this is where we can come in. Drew in Erie,
Yeah.
he's been riding the
The
NBC,
heiress.
yeah,
Yeah.
that Eris contact where the Today Show came out.
Huge.
That's huge, and I use that. I'm like, look, this is the kind of stuff that can elevate your district, and as a result, Drew, I've actually brought Drew on as one of my contract instructors now.
Oh, amazing.
So yeah, but that's he's teaching there, and now he's teaching for me in the summers. But this is the kind of thing that when you tell a superintendent, look at where this can go, and then you start waving around scholarship dollars and you wave around the news coverage, and Drew has had people send money, that support. Hey, I want this money to go to Drew through,
Oh, that's awesome. I
so,
didn't even think
so
about that. Yeah, that's cool. Super
you know,
cool.
um, his district, because of a lot, not just because of, I mean, Drew does amazing stuff,
Of course.
but they've just approved, and I'm probably going to misstate the number, but it's a multi-million-dollar overhaul of that building, and the space Drew is getting is he's got a complete radio room coming. And Drew, if this isn't public, I'm sorry, but I'm telling it anyway.
Oh, sorry, Drew.
Um,
You just got.
but it's
You got-
you shouldn't have shared it with me
Ah,
because
you
it's
told
that
the wrong guy.
exciting.
You told the wrong
He's
guy.
got
He's too excited.
what, like 9 stations around the room where they're going to be like, I think they're going to be like with a closable door. So he's trying to build a contest club, and so
He's like
there
building a collegiate radio
he
level
is.
club at a high school. That's awesome.
He is. And
Wow.
so, he's got cubicles in there where these kids are going to have everything. Every cubicle is going to have a full setup. One might be HF, one might be just satellites or what, but whatever it is, every station has a purpose. And so, you know, that's another big thing that I'm trying to work towards, is getting more youth events in
Hmm.
contesting. We recently hired a young man, Max, in my department. He's N4ML, and he's big into contesting. And so one of the things that I've got him working with me on is, ways to engage more of these young people in
Yeah.
contests. Um, a lot of times these kids feel like second class citizens when, they're competing against, some of the Craig Thompsons in the world. And I don't know if you know Craig Thompson station or not, but it's huge.
Yeah.
A 15-year-old kid's not going to compete against that. So
Sure.
let them play in the same thing, but let's have an award that's specific. Okay, a youth overlay or a youth category.
Right. Yeah.
What's the harm in that?
Where's Kyle and Sterling to have this discussion, right? This is the gamification of amateur radio, right? We love
yeah,
this stuff. This is what we've been looking for. Yeah, for sure.
and so we're working on getting some more of those things going,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, there's a couple of other things. So Liberty Cave says, Steve, we lost a good YouTube channel when you took this position, but gained a better world. Great comment from
So
Liberty Cave. I can't pop
thank
it
you.
up,
And
but you're doing a great
I'll
job,
be
man.
honest with you, it still pains me a bit to not be able to do do YouTube. I live vicariously through coming on other people's shows now. Um, but
Sure.
you're
Yeah.
not wrong. I mean, I enjoy what I do immensely. So, when one of the conditions was I can't post anymore, I was like, okay. So, it's and I understand it, but it's a lot. We had a great community, and all you guys supported my
Yeah.
Padawans, sending radio, sending equipment, and um, sending money sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do miss it, but thank you, Liberty Cave, and I've met him. He's a great dude. So,
There's another one here, which I think this just dovetails perfectly into this curriculum that you're putting together. Are there good quality videos explaining this curriculum? I know the answer is no, but maybe put that in the back pocket. That would be a fantastic idea.
there will be.
Good. I love it. I love it.
That's that. In fact, we've got I've got him creating other parts of the videos as well.
All
So
right, Max. That's
my,
cool.
my vision for how to do this is, and there are some, I'm not taking anything away from any of these YouTubers that do licensing videos. I mean, Dave Kassler does a wonderful job with his
Yeah, of
series.
course.
Several people have great series out there, but the one consistent thing is none of them are young. And so,
I'm hip.
kid,
I'm with it, Steve. What are you
yeah,
talking about?
well, okay, people
No
say
cap.
I'm hip, and
No cap,
oops.
Steve.
So,
I hear
but
you. I hear what you're saying.
so Max is creating kind of evergreen licensing videos. By evergreen, I mean we're going to teach the concepts of each one in a video,
That's a good
but we're
idea.
not
Yeah.
addressing specific questions
Yeah.
because questions can change,
They
but
do.
most of the
Yeah.
concepts stay the same. Um, the same thing with some of the contesting videos. He's now launching videos where I had him film like an intro to contesting. Technically, it's open for anybody, but it's a young person doing it, and we're gearing it towards young people.
Mhm.
And then every contest that comes up, we're filming kind of a primer for that contest.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, oh, so here comes, well, even though field day's not a contest, here comes field day. And here are some tips to have a successful field day. Here are some things you want to do ahead of time. Here are some tips on operating. Here are some kind of watering holes for different things. Because I don't know about you, but when I first dabbled in my first contest, I was lost. I mean, it
Sure.
was like I knew I had to log some stuff and I knew I had to talk to some people.
And the bands are
And
screaming at you. The radio noises
and
are a cacophony of yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so some of these folks, and like I said, young and old alike, they can benefit from those things. Having one place where it's like they can hop on and say, "Oh, I think I want to try this, RIDI contest or whatever it
Yeah.
is." Boom, everything that you need to know in a nutshell about that contest is right there. Everything from the
Explained to you by
exchanges,
yeah.
yeah,
Explained to you by somebody that's a little bit younger, closer to your age bracket, I think is probably
yeah,
good because I mean, well, it also speaks to the well, okay, I'll just say this. Their methodology of creating content on social media is also different just in the style and some of the
yeah,
aesthetics that go into it. They have a different actual way of communicating, right? And so I think this
yeah,
is a really good idea. I the follow on for that comment from earlier was these videos could act as basically the explainers of like what these kits, if you go to a kit side or you go to a curriculum side, this would be like almost explaining what it is. Like, here is section 1, blah blah blah, and like everything you cover, but done by a younger person, like actually demonstrating it would be extremely valuable. That would be super
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
So all those things are in the works. It's, like I said, I'm fortunate in that I have, a great boss who gives me free reign to run with this. And then, the board generally supports everything that I'm trying to do. So,
Generally,
so,
generally supports it, Steve. Yeah, most
it's
of
it's
them.
growing. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt that with the way we're growing, I'm gonna have to grow our department even more. Um, there are four full-time people in there now.
Wow.
Um,
Impressive. Yeah.
and but if I start shipping, if Eliza starts shipping, give her shout outs. Um, 25 or 30 of these roadshow kits, that's going to
That's
take a
huge.
person by themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, because not to mention storage.
Well,
I've
you've already got
getting
that,
a
but you got ARRL, all the show space when they go to Hamfest. Does she also support that, or is she just supporting
now
you?
now she just supports me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
um, she's in our office, Aaron, but she's got a checklist for. Well, I'll just give you an example. That new classroom.
Hmm.
Um, the tables came in last Friday at about 3 o'clock, and I should have sent you the picture of the pallet. Um, the pallet was completely crushed on the truck. So
Oh,
there
geez.
was no way to get the pallet off the truck. It's 3 o'clock on a Friday. So the guy was like, "Oh, I'll just take it back." We're like, "No, no, no. We need these tables for Monday." And so, we broke the pallet down on the truck and carried everything off.
Hmm.
And then Kevin and Josh and I mean, several of us, Bill, our building manager, myself, we stuck around into the night putting these suckers together. Um, but Eliza doesn't miss a beat with these things.
That's
She ships
fantastic.
those 13 boxes. She's got checklists for exactly where everything is.
Hmm.
But it's going to take more people if we're going to ship that many.
Yeah, there was a question earlier. Since I got the image back up, can you walk through what the gear is that's on the table and maybe how it gets used during the TI? That
Yeah,
came up, so I'm gonna put you right in the middle, like you're teaching the class here,
I'm
and then
teaching.
I'm gonna get myself out of the way and just go ahead and explain what we're seeing
That's good
here.
because I kind of miss teaching. So this is
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
um. So we've got if you look at the table closest to us on the left hand side,
Hmm.
you've got um one of the two radios. This year, like I said, I give them two radios. We're giving them a Yaesu FT70, and we're giving them this year is a Retevis knockoff of the Quansheng.
Okay.
Um, my reasoning for that is I will always, and I do catch some hate for this because I give them one of those cheap Baofeng-ish radios. But the reality is, when you get a kid license, they can afford that radio, and to not have their teacher know how to use that radio is to me just not worth it. I mean, Retevis gave me those suckers with a programming cable for $12 a pop. So, at
Pretty good.
$12, that's worth it.
Yeah.
The next thing is the soldering station. Those are brand new. That's the reason they're still in the box. At this picture, they're no longer brand new in the box. Um, then we've got the box with the green paper on it, the kind of
Hmm.
on the that's RT Systems. If
Hmm.
you've never used RT Systems software, it is amazingly simple. And then Karen from RT Systems works with us on pricing, so I will gladly be a momentary commercial for them.
No problem.
Under that is the basic electronics kit. That's from a place called Etron Circuit Labs. Then you've got in the center there, um, you've actually got a monitor. It's a portable monitor that can fold up,
Oh, cool.
um, and keyboard and mouse. And the reason for that is for years we fought compatibility issues with computers, and we fought administrator privileges on computers where they'd get there and they can't install things. So now we just bought everybody a Raspberry Pi. And so,
Ah.
yeah, so Andy Stewart, who is calls escaping me, but he's a one call. Um, he runs Andy's Linux.
Hmm.
Um, so he created a distro for us that has all of our TI software already in there. So, we flash all these things. They sit down, and as they go through the course, they're customizing this for them. Um, the other great thing about it being a Raspberry Pi is when you've got a kid in a classroom is like, wow, I want to run with this. I want to do some of this at home. It's simple.
Yeah.
You stick an SD card in a Raspberry Pi, and he's got the exact same system that
Easy to
he has at
clone, and
school.
they're cheap.
They're cheap. So they're getting the Raspberry Pis, and that the monitor and stuff stay with us. That's part of the classroom setup. Then you've got some miscellaneous cables and stuff there. There's a Bionics Fox it's in there somewhere. I think it's in the bag. And then you've got the directional antenna. Um, those are arrow antennas. We're not sticking with arrow antenna this year.
Mhm.
Um, just one thing that anybody, Diane, our CFO, will tell you is that I am constantly looking for ways to save money because I view it as if I can save, $80 a teacher on something, then it adds up to be a full teacher eventually.
I like
So,
it. I like it. Yeah.
um, this year we actually are going with, made in South Africa. It's an AMSAT SA antenna.
Oh, okay.
And so, um, I just had a pallet full of those delivered. There's 250 of those things sitting upstairs, and they have to try to find a place that they're going to store them because the hard part about growth is everything else has to grow with it. And I mean, I've got stuff stored in Becky's area. I've got stuff all over the building.
You know what's kind of funny
And
is you just said two things that scream teacher to me. Like teachers are always looking to save money on classroom like
yep,
materials, and they've got stuff everywhere that they've hid in random places because they know they'll need it at some point in the year. That's
yep,
exactly what you sound like, Steve. You're really
yep.
not out of the classroom at all. You're still very much a
No.
teacher at heart.
And fortunately, we've got Eliza that keeps us on track and knows exactly where everything is. Like to the point of where we were putting those tables together, where I was going earlier, we couldn't find one set of the little teeth that hold the grommets down because there's integrated power into the tables.
Oh, cool.
And so I shot her a message and said, "Hey, you don't happen to know where these are? I hate to bother you on a Friday night." And she's like, "First wood cabinet in my office, second door, third drawer, first box."
Knew exactly where it is.
And that's exactly where they were.
Wow,
So,
that's impressive.
but that's what we need. If we're going to grow, we need logistics people that can do that stuff. We need all of these things to have to work together. So, and then in that bag, you've got like more just random wires and, cables that they need to hook everything up.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the Uber geek who's Sideboom goes by Side. We affectionately know him as Sideboom. Says TI on the road was an amazing experience. Watch many teachers that had never before touched a radio come out with a call sign and now understand on how they could do radio and a number of other things. And he's talking a lot in chat, so he's being
Yeah.
an advocate of your program here.
Well, he helped us significantly with that Louisiana one. He and I, oh gosh, I guess he and I talked about a year ago
Yeah,
to see, hey, do you think we can make this happen? And then about 6 months ago, the planning got real, and he roped together several, district level or regional level administrators. We made it happen, and he stayed on site the entire time. Any little issues we had, anything we needed, he was there.
I didn't
So, and
know
if
he
I'm
was
not
there the whole time.
mistaken,
That's
I
amazing.
may, yeah, I may be misspeaking, but I'm pretty sure he took vacation time from his job. It was held at his job, but I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sideboom, but
You're the
I
man,
think he
Sideboom.
took PTO to help support this program. So, it was amazing. I'd love to have another one down there.
He says he
Um,
did indeed take vacation time.
yeah. So, but he also through these people, it's kind of a random rabbit to chase, but they arranged for me to have a chance to talk to the entire state of Louisiana's STEM departments.
Whoa.
So, this is where change starts to happen. You get one
Yeah.
or two people in the district and they talk to somebody else at a district, and then all of a sudden they've got the ear of the state STEM director. And they say things like, well, let's get this guy on a call. I was actually going to fly down and go to a conference, but with that they were all going to be at, but then they were like, well, they're not all going to be there. So let's just I'm not going to remember that saving money thing. I'm not going to spend the money for an air flight if I'm not going to get everybody.
Right.
So, so we arranged another date on Zoom. And so we had the chance to kind of pitch this program to all of the regional STEM directors in the entire state of Louisiana. And places like LSU expressed that they would love to host one.
Hmm.
So, it's growing. I'd love for the entire state of Louisiana to be covered up with this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
it's very applicable. I mean, they're Hurricane Alley down there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
so there's a lot of things that they can all use with this stuff. So, thanks for the help there, Side Boom.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Steve, did we set the record straight here, or did we cover all the things? Is there anything else we want to hit up before we say goodnight here?
Yeah, a couple of things
Yeah,
if you've got a
please.
minute.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I did see Wayne Green, not that Wayne Green, is in the chat. Wayne is, as you know, he's been on your show too. I brought him
Hmm.
on as staff.
Yep.
We have started doing, and I guess I think we're going to our fourth one,
Hmm.
what we're calling On the Air Live,
Oh,
which is
yeah. Talk about it.
it's a monthly training that we do. I say Wayne does this, where he takes a different topic every month, and it's interactive. Think of it like a Zoom or a live stream, but it's on Zoom, so they can turn their camera on and ask their questions live as they go. And like this month we're doing fox hunting, and we're actually filming. He's going to be up at headquarters anyway to teach TI, so we're going to do that from the grounds of ARRL headquarters. There have been some great ones that I see the past ones. We store them all in the learning center. But that has proven to be a huge program. Last month, I've got the Zoom account for work that has you can get 500 people in, and then we have it started turning people away. It was full.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, this month, if we get that near there, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade it to the 1,000 person Zoom.
Wow.
Um, he does a phenomenal job with this. He's 95% of the reason we had to sound dead in the new classroom is because of Wayne. He's just that exciting. He's boom, energetic, and he's a great instructor, and he does a great job on the air live. So you can find if they're on the learning center, if you go log into the learning center and just hit the ARRL on the top left,
Hmm.
and I should have given this to you earlier. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. If you showed it to
Um,
me after, I'll update the description.
it's a you can just it's basically once you log in, it's a one-click registration. You click it and you're in.
Okay.
And we send reminders before it happens. It's the third Tuesday of each month in the evening, I believe.
Oh, cool.
So,
Okay.
um, and then there was something else, but I forgot what it
Well,
was.
I'll ask a question while you think about it, because we got one
Okay.
that's a little avant-garde. I don't know how you'd answer this. So, Steve, with the program you're running, what can the ARRL do to align itself more beyond funding to hold the attention of the youth and still cater to the older generations for operators? There's a lot of words there. It's an
There's a lot of
interesting
words,
question.
and I can't read it, so I'm having to do it audibly.
I know. I'm sorry. It's on the chat. I'll actually I can
So
copy it. Let me see if I can copy it. Yeah. Let me see if I can copy it into the Zoom. I don't know why my thing stopped working. I'm gonna have to restart my computer after this. So hold on. I'm gonna drop it in the chat there. There you go. You can see it now.
all right, let me pop that up.
Yeah.
Give me a
Yeah.
second to
It's a good
digest.
question, but I'm not sure I fully understand it, because it's like you've taken all the things the ARRL does and says take all of this and then appeal to the youth, while also not alienating other members. And it's like, well, there's a big enough budget that I feel like you can have it all ways. Like, why must we? It's the
So
small pie fallacy, right? You can do all
yeah,
the things from my point
yeah,
of view.
and we're doing all the things.
Yeah.
A lot of what we're discussing here is youth, but on the air live is open. I mean, all the programs are essentially open to anyone. Wayne runs, and I don't think we've had youth in an on the air live session. Those are geared towards hams. Doesn't matter if they're 12 or 82. Those are all things that anybody can do. The entire learning center is full of stuff. In fact, you've created a course for the learning center. Mike K at MRD has created a course on the learning center.
He did. He's in the chat.
Those are all if you're interested in soda, Adam's got a course on the learning center about
That's
soda.
right. That's
And
right.
these are all things that are geared at the general ham population. I would also say that generally speaking, engaging youth and getting more youth interested in radio helps the entire hobby anyway. It gets more people on the air. It
Hmm.
gets more people in contests. It gets, let's forget the whole cliff, everybody's going to die kind of thing. So, I mean,
Right.
that's the one thing everybody says is you can't add them faster than they're dying.
It's a
And
false dilemma, right? They're creating a false dilemma and then implying that you can never surmount the losses that will attain, right? That's really the argument that it's making. The problem is it's not factoring in people that are older that are coming into the hobby. That's the
yeah,
reality of it is it's all 40-year-olds and older. That's the largest demographic. All that space, that whole top end space is like new hams. There's your new hams right there. A lot of what you're doing though isn't just about amateur radio, and I think that's really what you revolutionized with the whole thing. Maybe that's the wrong term. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But you made it about educating kids to understand that this is not a cell phone. It's a box full of radios. And what does that mean? And how does radio fit in your everyday life, whether you knew they were there or not? That's really what a lot of this is about. And once they get that little nugget in their head, they're probably going to be ham radio operators in the future, or at least have a better understanding of technology, which is a huge advantage to society at large from my point of view. I don't know. What do you think? Is that kind of where you were going
yeah,
with this?
I think so. And I would also say that we have the entire, well, not the entire, most of what's out there currently for amateur radio is
Hmm.
catered towards older people.
It's true.
It's absolutely the case. Neil Rapp in his Yoda camp. Okay, there's another kind of outlier.
Yeah.
Neil does great work. Those kids, I think he gets like 50 or something kids up there,
Hmm.
and they do great work. What he does is he hits already established young hams. These are people that are already hams, are already engaged. Um, so I'm a little different in that I'm trying to find those new ones and keep those new ones engaged with learning. But most of, like I alluded to the contesting thing earlier, most of that is catered towards that older generation.
Hmm.
There are no awards for these young people. All I'm asking is this: let's give them a category as well.
Ah, well, yes, I agree with that completely. But the shocking revelation, KC1, the person who asked the original question, came back, and I will copy this and drop it in the chat. So this is a clarifier, and you probably can't answer this, but his clarification point is why hasn't the ARRL updated the website to be modern and inviting to the new generation while catering to the older generation that barely wants to use their phones? That's a tough ask, but I see where he's coming from.
So I'm one that firmly believes in staying in my lane. Um,
Good. And that keeps your head below, as hard as it is for you, it keeps your head below the ceiling fan, right?
yeah, but yeah, I hit my head on a lot of things. I will say that I know, Justin, our IT director, I know that this is something that he's actively working on. I don't. Justin's been there what 8 or 9 months or so. I don't. Extremely bright guy,
8 or 9 months
but
and he hasn't solved all the problems everywhere, Steve?
but
How dare he?
yeah, he's
Dick's upset about this.
yeah. Well, some people can be that way, but I can see the work that's happening there, and while it doesn't necessarily all come out until it comes out,
Hmm.
I know that it's being worked on. Would I like a newer, more modern website? I'm not gonna lie, absolutely I would. It would be much easier for me to host things and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of little things that have happened through the years as far as how systems were built and whatnot, and that complicate matters. So from what I understand, he's actively working on the background stuff, and anything else, all I can say is I would suggest reach out to your division director and ask him.
By the way,
you know
that is the right way to get feedback through to the ARRL, right? Through your division
Absolutely,
director,
yeah. I
right?
mean,
Like, is there a better way or is that the best way?
no, I mean, you're welcome to call headquarters as well
Hmm.
and just say, hey, I'm curious about this, and they'll, I mean, my phone rings all day.
Hmm.
um but I would say that probably the best way to get information is just go to your division director. Their emails are all printed on what, page 15, 16, whatever it is in QST every single month. So
Hmm.
pull it up. It's right there. Give them a call, shoot them an email. This is what they do. This is part of, directors aren't paid. So for people to sign up to want to be a director, they love the hobby. And so they like it. I mean, you email them a question and they enjoy that interaction. So please, email your director and ask them. That they'll get you answers if they don't know them.
Please do. Please do. All right, Steve, is there anything we didn't hit upon?
I
I
don't think
want to.
so. I think we kind of got it all.
I love the updates. I love that it's growing. We already saw in chat they want us to host another fundraiser in the future. So I'm going to talk to Mike KMRD and where we want to line that up, because we were kind of the Mike was the OG. He definitely hosted the very, very, very long fundraiser. But I was there. I was there for most of it. But he's the man. So I'm going to talk with Mike. Maybe we'll talk about it in the after chat. Steve, I know you are on the East Coast. It's already pretty late for you. So
and I'm decaffeinated.
yeah, yeah. You're off the coffee now, right? Is that?
I have been off the coffee since a unexpected hospital stay in October.
Yeah.
And so
We talked a little bit beforehand, and I'm not gonna dive into your medical history on a live stream or anything like that. But did they actually say that the coffee was causing a problem? Is the coffee a problem, Steve?
so you sound like my
Help me,
wife.
Steve. Help me.
No. In fact, he explicitly said the coffee did not cause this. It's
Can you
you
go
know
back to the coffee, Steve? Can you slow maybe only 18 cups a day? Can you
so
can you start low?
with the medication I'm on right now, not really.
Mm.
So it's heart failure is an ugly thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking, I take 10 pills a day, I think, right now.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so it's you know, I joke at work that I don't get to eat or drink anything fun anymore.
Mm.
But it's going to get there. They've got hopefully a plan that,
Top men. They've got top men working on it, Steve.
yeah, they've got top men, and like I'm like, just wire me up, hook me up to a 12-volt power source, and let's run, because I've got stuff to do. And
You're gonna
I
be
don't I
what?
don't have.
Have you seen my solar hat? You without the hair, my solar hat, plug that directly into the pipeline there. Keep you pumping, man. That's what we
Yeah.
got to get for
So,
you.
but again, I'm blessed with the work environment that they support everything that,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a couple of these unexpected hospital stays. He tried to hospital. Like, I don't think Minster's listening. Um,
He might be. He might be. He's sneaky that way.
they
Yeah.
they tried to put me in again last 2 weeks ago, and I told them I'm busy till August. So, I can't do
I'm
that.
too
And
busy to go to the hospital is what you said?
that's pretty much what I said. He's like, you've got to go in for 3 days, and I'm like, I don't have time. I can pencil you in, August 15th or so.
You got to schedule your
And
hospital visits. That's
I'm
right.
gonna have to
Yeah.
schedule it. Well, it's just apparently there's some medicine they want to switch or something, and it's apparently if I don't do it right, it's bad.
Can't Amazon just overnight it to you? Can't you get
That's
to?
kind of, I'd be okay with that. Just get a trusted friend to do the surgery and let's just be done with it. But
You got auto shops nearby, right? You
yeah,
get to go
so
to the garage.
but but we're getting there. So it's not slowing me down too much. So
I'm Steve. Amateur radio is better off because of you. The work you've done continues to impress me and grow the community, and really, I think, enrich the lives of younger people outside of just amateur radio. So I thank you so much for being on the show as always, and all the great work you do. Just keep kicking, man. I know I couldn't stop you if I tried because you're very large. You're a very tall man. I couldn't stop you if I tried, but you're just amazing. So everybody in the chat, say thank you to Steve. We definitely appreciate him. Yeah. Anything else, or we're good, right? We're good. We'll let you
that's it.
go to
We're good.
sleep.
I appreciate it. And like I said, wherever the telethon is hosted this year, thank you guys,
Yep.
because I can't do any of what I do without all that. So
Yeah. All right, Steve. Well, thanks for being on. It's great to catch up with you, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
all right, talk to you
Have a
later.
great rest of your weekend. Happy Father's Day, buddy.
You as well.
All right. See ya. All right, I am going to throw a thing out here. I already mentioned it. Ned Stern. AA7A is running for the Southwest Division ARRL director role. This is the role that Dick Norton is in right now. I'd like to see Dick Norton replaced. I will say that straight up. I don't have any problem with it. I've attended enough of his talks where he is the one voice in the room with no one really allowed to directly refute any of his claims or just challenge him. There is a question and answer, but I don't think people are really answering or asking him good questions because I don't think most people expect the mudslinging that gets done in a lot of these talks. So I will say it. I want to replace Dick Norton with AA7A. And if you are in the Southwest area, I want you to vote for him. So when the vote comes around, I want you to do what you need to do and get the vote done, get him selected. That's it. There it is. There's setting the record straight. And if you didn't catch the beginning of the stream, go back in the beginning and make sure you check that out. I am going to say a huge thank you to the patrons. Now, there we go. Thank you very much to all the producer-level patrons. Obviously, I got back from Hawaii. I needed to do this video with Steve because we've been talking about this for a little while. So Patron Picks is going to be next weekend. We've already got a selected topic. I think you guys are all really going to enjoy it. It happens to be about a new radio that I think you all know what I'm talking about versus another radio, which you may be able to guess which one that is as well. If you haven't already, go check out the... Oh, I just lost it. You ever get that thing where you're just rambling like I do, like I'm a yapper, and I lose... what's the receiver test website? Why did I totally lost it. Everybody ranks their videos. It's not Thurgood. That's not the right word. Chat, where are we at? Sherwood, thank you. I was close. They're good. So Sherwood dropped the FTX1 ranking. And I think it's below the 7,300. I don't know if we expected that, particularly off of some of the information we saw coming out about the radio. So I'm interested to see how it might stack up against other radios, because I know it has, no question, the loudest speaker that you can possibly have, I think, in a portable radio. It's got a lot of good things going for it, but there's, it's been a bumpy start. I hope, of course, I love Yaesu. I want the best for him, and I think they'll get things sorted out. But regardless, we want to see how these things rank up. And that's probably what we're going to be doing in next weekend's live stream. And then Field Day. Field Day, I will be with the W6TRW Club. We will be talking about Field Day on the podcast next week, as well as next week's live stream. I will be out there for an entire weekend. We're going to a campsite. The campsite, I believe, is a POTA and a SOTA, and we'll be operating QRP from the camp to, count them, 2 Buddy Hex antennas, doing the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be an amazing time. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to the Patreon supporters. I very much appreciate you. Thank you to the YouTube members and everybody in the chat. Amazing. We are going to end this live stream and start a new live stream called the After Chat, where you join us and we get to answer your questions. That's our goal. Help people that are starting out in particular, but we'll answer everybody's questions. And I'm kind of wondering if I could find a couple of Dick Norton's hot takes on some of the videos. I know they're posted. I might be able to grab some of them, and we might live react to them. Anyway, I am Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for watching the Hammer Do Crash Course 73.